Hey guys, welcome back to This Old Thing. Tonight we're reading The Girl in the Centerfold by Surrey Marshe, who was Miss January 1967, and she wrote this book in 1969. So she was only like 23 when she wrote this book about her experience as a playmate and as a bunny, and about her time at the Playboy mansion. So this is a super fascinating book that I've been loving going through. It's just each chapter is like its own like essay that you can like take apart and just learn so much from. So tonight we're reading chapter 8, Alexas Urba. If you need to go back or want to go back and start at chapter 1, you can find the link in the info box below for the playlist of just all the chapters. But you can also just start with this one if you'd like to, because each one kind of does stand on its own. And for those of you guys that have been waiting patiently for the next chapter, thank you so much for waiting. And thank you for requesting that I continue this. I have been working so much. I am opening a little mini store of my vintage store. And I also got another job to help me be able to pay for my vintage store to open. So I have just been working so much, just starting that new thing and just having to learn so much. Like every night I'm so tired to read. And I really mean to, because I love reading this and I want to keep adding to it. But I keep meaning to, and then it's late at night and I'm just like, I can't read it. But right now it's like 12:30 and I do have work tomorrow, but I really want to get this next chapter out for you guys and keep it going, because I know that this is a really interesting story, so people want to know what happens next. This is actually a pretty short chapter, but we're just going to start with that, and then this weekend I'll have more time, so I'll probably come and read the next, which is a longer chapter, over the weekend for you guys. So thank you for joining. Chapter 8, Alexas Urba. I had the notion that Alexas Urba would do pretty much as Pompeo Posar had done. I don't mean that I thought Alex would take me for a ferry ride and spend hours just getting me out of my clothes. No, I was prepared to disrobe and pose, although not thrilled at the prospect. But I thought that once I'd arrived at that condition, Alex would get out his camera, pose me, boobies up, tummy in, fanny out, look sexy, in the same manner as Pompeo Posar. I figured the whole bit would be over in an hour, 2 at the most, then I'd go back to saying, "Good afternoon, welcome to the Playboy Club." When I arrived at the studio on East Ohio Street on my 4th day in Hefnerland, I was almost eager to get the posing over with. I was having something less than a thrilling time in Chicago. I was weary of the nothing-filled existence at this is a good one. I was having something less than a thrilling time in Chicago. I was weary of the nothing-filled existence at Hefner's house, and I wanted to end my dread of posing. I was gratified that Alexas Urba intended to get to work. Apparently that there had been a sufficiency of friendly lunches and soulful talks, so that now Alex intended to get down to, as Playboy might put it, bare facts. I was handed a cavernous black robe and told to get undressed. The robe fit my mood as I emerged from the dressing room, resolved to be a big girl and not sweat. I was fully prepared to step out of the robe and into the shower, but I needn't have been. The set wasn't ready. Designers were still fussing over it, hanging and rehanging the curtains, adjusting the folds, and haggling over the soap. What color, what shape, where it should be in the background. This activity went on for a long time, until I figured my Fanny and I were sort of extra. The picture just had to be selling soap. So I lounged on a sofa drinking Pepsi, the approved Playboy drink, and smoking too many cigarettes. Eventually the soap was ready and the towel and the curtains and the lighting, and I was to go to work. Only not yet. Clearly my notion that nudity speaks for itself was wrong. Somebody must look at the face. A woman appeared and made me up, face and body. Then my hair was braided in the Nordic fashion. I'm sure Alexas Urba didn't do it for this reason, but all the preparations of the set and me took so long that I was almost eager to be doing something, if only shedding the robe. I guess I'd thought about it so long and been so apprehensive yet determined about it that the act itself was anticlimactic. Alex made no comment on my figure and gave no reaction, and, true to his word, he was the only other person in the room. After all the fuss about the color of the soap, the first pictures were taken in black and white. Alex said he had to get the pose right. To determine this, he began with a Polaroid camera. The first photo was much too dark, the next too light. 4 or 5 photos were needed to get the light and focus correct. Then came several more to get the pose right. It was the pose Pompeo Posar had taken in New York. Me stepping into the shower. But stepping into the shower, as Playboy does it, is not a simple process. Obviously, cleanliness was not the purpose. Pose after pose was necessary, all still in Polaroid black and white, to get the correct amount of skin. I was directed by Alex to stand profile, 1 boobie and 1 cheek showing. Then more to the front, 2 boobies and 1 cheek. And then more to the back, 1 boobie and both cheeks. Raise the arm, lower the arm, bend the knee to appease the post office department. Turn the head, lift the chin, boobies or boobie up, tummy in, fanny out, arch the back, look sexy. I even stood on a pillow for extra height. Finally, eventually, ultimately, Alex produced what he declared to be 5 good poses with the lighting and focus right. Believe me, this took time, for after every pose there were adjustments to the lights, the camera, the pose. It took so long I could feel my hair growing. But I had no idea that this wasn't even the beginning. I had merely rehearsed the practice for the warm-up. I put on my robe and relaxed while Alex took the 5 good Polaroid prints to Vince Tajiri for his approval of the pose. That took a while. Apparently various editors had to cast their opinions on my epidermis. Or maybe they hawked it out on Ohio Street, I don't know. But with time, the preferred pose was selected. 1 boobie, 2 cheeks. As soon as the pose was determined, the whole process had to be repeated with a Polaroid color camera, which meant new lighting, etc., etc., etc. Polaroid is currently advertising its color pack camera as the, quote, 60-second excitement. Maybe, but when you're standing there naked as a naked woman, arm raised, boobie up, and all that, the 60 seconds become, particularly when it is repeated time after time, well, let's just say I hoped Alex would finish the job while I still had my youth. What do you mean, taking pictures of this hag? She's old, I tell you. Old, old, old. I sort of figured Quaker Mary was recruited. Well, somewhat younger. Okay, Mary, baby, you lie on the bed. What's that? You have to go potty? Ugh. Why did it say that? When 5 good color prints were prepared, these went to Vince Tajiri for approval. He approved. Progress at last. Little did I know Alex had now reached the practice stage. The object was now to get 10 color transparencies, which Vince could submit to Hefner for his approval. What's the idea of submitting only 9 transparencies, Urba? You're lazy, Urba. Out with you. To begin this process, Alex rolled out a big portrait camera. I stood there, clutching the pink shower curtain, the pink soap in the background, arm weary, hair growing, crow's feet deepening, wondering when menopause would set in, while Alex disappeared under the black shroud. I stood and I stood. I stood. Indeed, for it took 10 minutes just to frame the camera. The shooting went on and on and on and on. Tell me, Miss Marsh, when did you first notice that you were no longer able to lower your right arm? Alex would take a couple of shots, or 3 perhaps, never more than 4. Then I'd break, put on a robe, and have a cigarette while he fiddled with the lights or adjusted whatever photographers adjust. Then, robe off, back to the shower curtain. Same pose while he framed the camera. You must accept the fact, Miss Marsh, that with the passage of time, the joints tend to stiffen a little. After all, we aren't as young as we used to be, are we? But it is useful for holding on to subway straps, isn't it? It took 2 days to get the 10 transparencies for Vince to take to Hefner. 2 days. I tried to imagine Hefner viewing my body. I could visualize him spinning on his bed, pushing a button to stop, and then saying, "All right, let's see the wench." Another button, a screen drops down, the lights are lowered, an image flashes on the screen. A pause. Hefner scowls. Rats, where'd we get her? Too skinny, too flat. Fix her or dump her. I wasn't too far wrong. Hefner didn't like my pictures. The color was bad. Too much pink. Back came the workmen, and the set was changed from a pink background to a blue stripe. The soap was argued over. Pink soap. No, blue soap. Pink it's gotta be. A compromise was reached. Pink and blue soap. The posing started again before a pink curtain, blue striped background, and pink and blue soap. Arm up, turn the head, more to the side, arch the back, booby, fanny, look sexy, hold it, and don't you dare move. Is your arm tired, Surrey? What arm was that? 2 days later, a second set of 10 transparencies was again submitted to Hefner. I tried not to think about it. He didn't like these photos either. Color still bad. Belongs in a man's bathroom. Manly color. And her hair. Her hair. Change it. Where do we get these dames, Tajiri? She looks like a goddamn Norwegian. Again the set was changed. The curtains became brown and tan stripes. Very manly. Now, sir, I have something very nice in a brown and tan stripe to show you. Very. What's that? You want pink? I was given a dark green washcloth to hold. The background was transformed into a shimmering yellow. And this is crazy. The background was transformed into a shimmering yellow, and the soap yellow and pink. That was the only pink in the photo. Clearly the pink soap man is a real power in the organization. My hair was arranged into a ponytail and tied with a dark green ribbon. In the shower? The posing and shooting resumed, and in 2 more days 10 transparencies were again submitted to Hefner. They were approved. The practice was now over, and Alex settled down to the real work of photographing the centerfold. As he explained, he had to produce 20 perfect transparencies, from which Hefner could select the best. It took 5 days. During all these days and days of shooting, time seemed to disappear. I spent an 8 to 10 hour day at the studio. posing or sequestered in the black robe, drinking Pepsi and smoking. For me, it was a private purgatory of boredom, interrupted only by those thrilling evenings and weekends at Hefner's mansion. It became drudgery, like looking for a haystack with a needle in it, or filling up Mammoth Cave with a teaspoon. No, it was worse than that, for the task of posing for the centerfold was a study in frustration. The bad shot, the improper focus, the slight blur because I moved, an imperfect pose, the expression on my face that revealed my true feelings, and each bad shot was separated by an interminable wait. Through it all, I was nude. I became so used to being nude in front of Alex that sometimes I couldn't remember when I hadn't spent my days doing that. If I'd ever had any exhibitionist tendencies, which I deny, I'd lost them in this process. 2, if I'd ever been self-conscious about nudity, I lost that too. If you do anything long enough or often enough, it becomes the thing to do. The time, perfectionism, and expense, it must cost at least $10,000, that go into one picture of a nude girl confused me at the time and still does. My initial reaction was that a mountain was laboring to give forth a mouse. A booby is a booby, and a hindy is a hindy, and how many photographs are required? But I also told myself that great art, and photography as an art, is the product of perfectionism. Certainly, the female figure has been a major source of inspiration to artists since the caveman. Was Alexas Urba inspired? Is there art in the photograph of me? Is it a study in the curved lines of the female body, light and shadow and composition? Alex's eternal focusing resulted in an amazing study of the texture of the skin. Every pore is revealed. I certainly never knew my skin was covered with the downy hair the camera revealed. Was the motive of Alexas Urba and Hugh Hefner simply an artistic study of the female body? I want so badly to believe that it was. To have posed for art would deodorize the whole experience for me. I wouldn't have to justify myself to anyone, including myself. I wouldn't have to give a thought to a person's attitude when he looked at my picture. If it was art and he didn't see it as art, then that is his problem, not mine. Ooh, that water almost went down the wrong way. Trouble is, I can't convince myself that either the motive or the result was art. For one thing, the picture of me is one of a long series to which no pretense of art can be made. Most centerfold pictures have been real peephole stuff. Dolly Reed smiling demurely while lifting her sweater to reveal her boobies. Diane Chandler reclining on a messed up bed with a "let's do it again" expression on her face. Melinda Windsor, her sweater hanging open with an expression which read, "Bet you never saw any bigger than these." Gay Rennie, one leg in her red tights, asking if she should put it on or take it off. Tish Howard standing before a locker, tennis racket at hand, having in mind a love game. Heather Ryan rising monokinied from the surf. Carla Conway rising unkinied from a beach towel. Can I make any special claim to being different? I wish I could, but I can't. Surrey Marshe stepping into the shower. A man's shower with manly colors and pink and gold soap. Hair be ribboned in a ponytail. Made up with $10 lashes. Mascara and lipstick, boobie up, fanny out, tummy in, and yeah, I guess I look sexy. The ultimate lie to the art argument is printed in the upper left-hand corner. Playboy's Playmate of the Month. If my picture is art, it is a cheap kind of art. Voyeurism, sexual titillation, a pictorial fantasy. It could have been worse, and I'm glad it wasn't. At least I was fully nude. I wasn't opening my blouse, or raising my sweater, or reclining on a bed with a come-hither look, or playing with children's toys in a sand pile, a la Joey Gibson, or standing, as Dee Dee Lind was portrayed, in a man's recreation room, fingering darts. At least I was undressed for the more socially acceptable reason a girl undresses. Cleanliness, as they say, is next to godliness. I'm glad, too, that Hefner ran only the one nude picture of me. Nowadays, several epidermal views of the girl are printed, along with the centerfold. Nowadays, several epidermal views of the girl are printed, along with the centerfold. The motive for that is as bare as the girl. When Alexas Urba finally got his 20 perfect transparencies, he wasn't near done. For the next 2 days, he took a series of photographs in various apartments around town, with me nude in bed, in chairs, standing before potted palms, and generally acting as paraphernalia in masculine settings. The best of these ran in the Playboy calendar. I was Miss June. The worst ran in the Playmate review in the next January issue. The position is impossible to describe, and I've never figured why anyone would get into this position and what one would do while there. It was a singularly unattractive photo, and I have an idea, considering some things that happened, that it was published deliberately, although I couldn't care less. On the evening of the final day of shooting, Alex drove me to a public park about 45 minutes from the studio. There he built a fire, and by the light of it and the automobile headlights obtained the best single photograph of me ever taken. He shot me backlighted so the lights formed a golden halo through my hair. I wore my tan suede coat, which goes to prove, I guess, that clothes do make the girl. The next day I flew back to New York. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Playboy Club. All right. Great job, guys. We made it to the end of chapter 8. Wow. What a crazy experience. And all of that shooting for one photo to be published, or one nude photo. That's wild. So the next chapter is chapter 9, and it's called Biff. So I wonder what she was referring to as why they published an unattractive photo. If you know, or if you have a guess, put it in the comments. Oh, so let me show you my shirt really quick. It's just this pajama top that I thrifted. It is the Ritz-Carlton, New Orleans. It's very soft, but it's also giving like mansion pajama vibes. So that's why I chose this. And also, I actually just happened to be sleeping in this anyway, but I thought it would be perfect. So I hope you guys like this. Enjoy. And stay tuned for chapter 9. I'm excited to see what happens next, because this is the first chapter that I hadn't read, because I'd read as far as chapter 7. But from here on, I also don't know what happens, so I'm excited to find out. So thank you so much for watching, and let me know what you think in the comments. Have a great night. Bye!